Hi guys, welcome back to GP Reactions. I hope you're well. Hope you're having a great day, and a big thank you to everybody that's subscribed. I really do appreciate that. So I'm now going to be listening to a track by Paul Hardcastle called 19. Although I was 18 at the time when this came out in 1985, and I do remember it very well. This is a slightly longer version called the Destruction Mix, which I've never heard before. And indeed, I've not really listened to this record for a long time. It's really interesting that I find that there's a lot of tracks now that were freely played throughout the 90s and 80s maybe on the radio that you don't get played anymore. And I often think that's because they've got a political, social message behind them. And I think radio stations have maybe a strict policy on their playlist not to cause any sort of offence or create any offence through or any controversy through their playlists and that. I do wonder. But yeah, this was released, actually entered the UK Top 40 on the 4th of May 1985. And it went to number 1. It was number 1 in 15 countries. The narration of this was by a guy called Peter Thomas, and the track came out, so I'm led to believe, on the 10th year anniversary following the end of the Vietnam War. So very interesting. I'm really looking forward to this extended Destruction Mix version, because I know if it's anything like the Frankie Goes to Hollywood version of Two Tribes that I listened to, there'll be a lot of extra stuff added in. Yeah, so I don't have an album for this actually. I think it was just a standalone single and 12-inch. Interesting, I'm just reading actually that this song was held back by many US radio stations because they felt it was anti-American, which is kind of crazy. I'm not sure how true that was, but I'll take it as it is on face value. That, and I guess there's a lot of songs actually that create controversy, like I said, with radio station, but even back in the day when they came out, they created a certain amount of controversy. So without further ado, this is 7 minutes 14 seconds long, and I'm going to press play and see what this Destruction Mix brings. I think the original radio edit was about 3 minutes long, so yeah.
They fought the longest war in American history. They fought the longest war in American history. In 1965, Vietnam seemed like just another foreign war, but it wasn't. It was different in many ways, and so were those who did the fighting. In World War II, the average age of the combat soldier was 26. In Vietnam, he was 19.
It's pretty cool. I'm going to turn this up. I guess what a record like this does. Sorry to pause there, by the way. I guess what a record like this does is, especially on the 10-year anniversary of the ending of the Vietnam War, it really kind of holds a mirror up to those who make the decisions to send, teenagers to war. And these weren't. A lot of these guys came from underprivileged backgrounds. They poor education, poor welfare. They came from poverty. And they put them in a uniform, sent them off to die in most cases. And you know what? And I think in some respects we're seeing that now with the with what's going on now in the Crimea and obviously Ukraine. That there's a lot of young soldiers that have been sent into Ukraine without a clue of what they're there for, really. Yeah, it's not really. It's just crazy that they do this. But this, obviously, I think when this came out, the unpopularity of it with, I suppose, some authorities in America, the government, because you don't like to be reminded of mistakes. Essentially, I'm not sure what the government was in 19. What was the Vietnam War? Was it 69 to 75? Or was it 65 to 75? I can't remember how the years of Vietnam War was going, but it'd be interesting for someone to tell me who was in the government in when the inception of that war began, and who was in the government in 1985, because there might be some sort of correlation between why this track was partially, I guess, blocked in America for reasons of anti-Americanism. But I don't want to go too much down the politics route, because I, as an 18-year-old, I remember this song, and it was just such a really fantastic groove to it. I'd heard one previous Paul Hardcastle track, which I think was Rainforest, and that was really cool too. So this was amazing, and it actually, to bring, you can bring history to people's to people through music. I think sometimes it's more effective that way than just trying to get them to read something out of a book. But yeah, this is a great track anyway. It's really good, and I can sort of pick up the differences between the edit and this one.
In Saigon, a U.S. military spokesman said today more than 700 enemy troops were killed last week in that sensitive border area. Throughout all of South Vietnam, the enemy lost a total of 2,689 soldiers.
I wasn't really sure what was going on. I wasn't really sure what was going on.
All right, so that was cool. I mean, it's cool to go back and yeah, get that vibe, and it's a bit incongruous that I feel a bit like I want to say that it got a really kind of cool beat and cool vibe to it, but at the same time, I don't want to make it sound like I'm really enjoying watching images of basically people who are teenagers, average age 19, going to war and just with a knowledge of the horrors that are awaiting them. I've seen enough Vietnam films since the 80s to understand how bad it actually was and understand how misled a lot of these young conscripts were. I always remember when I first started studying psychology that we watched a video, and I read about it as well, about an experiment by Milgram, and it was it was I think it was conformity or obedience or something, and I think the premise was basically based on I think it was My Lai massacre, where American troops massacred a village in Vietnam. I think it was everybody they killed, and they did that because they were essentially told that if they did it, they wouldn't be responsible. That the responsibility would lie with their commanders and stuff like that. And so Milgram did this experiment where he had people one side of a wall with switches which corresponded to different voltages, and the people on the other side of the wall had to answer questions. And the people on the other side of the wall that we didn't know about, they were actors. So the participants were the people with the switches, and essentially they had to ask a question, and they'd flick, if a person got it wrong, they'd flick a switch which corresponded to certain voltage, and when a person got it wrong, they go ow, you could hear an ow the other side of the wall, and eventually the voltages went up and up and up, until it got to a point where they were asking a question and a person goes, I can feel my heart's going to burst if you do that again. And the person said, look, I'm not flicking any more switches. So the person conducting experiment would say, look, okay, I've paid you. You know what? I'm still not flicking the switch. Have your $6 back. Well, you've agreed to do this. It's, you're affecting my experiment. If you don't continue, do you know what? I don't care. If it affects your experiment, order $6. I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'll tell you what then. If you do it, I will take full responsibility. And with that, they said, yeah, fine. And they carried on flicking the switches, even though the person on the other side had stopped being able to answer the questions. They were now quiet. They could possibly be dead if they had like a bad heart, as the one person said. But they carried on, and it's all to do with obedience. And this was a lot to do with and yeah, these young kids were, they were told that they didn't have that responsibility, and this was the kind of people they were sending into this kind of battle situation. So yeah, even though I love the music, I really enjoyed this Destruction mix. I'm going to go back and listen to the radio edit, probably watch the video to that, but I wanted to do something a little different to take me away from that, maybe. Yeah, even though I enjoyed the music of Paul Hardcastle, it still felt a little bit uncomfortable to watch all these images. Really want to hear your comments on this. Apart from that, and I'll always reply back. Really interesting video. So till next time, take care of yourselves. Have a great week.